Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast. All righty, we appreciate you guys joining us again for the Jaggernaut Podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Franklin. This is my brother Mike, and we're going to be discussing.
What's up, Duval?
Duval. So
that's about as much as I can muster, man.
Well,
I'm not much of the Duval guy at the moment. It's hard, brother. It's hard.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you're following Jags Twitter, everybody feels this way. I can tell you. I can promise you that. Just to catch people up for anybody who might tune into this that might not be paying attention to what's going on. So Byron Leftwich was definitely going to be the signee to the Jaguars, and then all of a sudden, not so much. And basically, just to sort of concisely explain what's going on for people, and this is basically what we're going to talk about today, is this Byron Leftwich controversy. The local sources seem to have indicated Byron Leftwich was going to sign here, and then national media sources are sort of coming out and saying, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't, our sources aren't saying this sort of thing. So, based on our front office history, it's led to some consternation and negativity toward the front office and say, here we go again. We're idiots. We don't know what we're doing. So, brother, what do you say about this? Do you feel the same way, or is there any sort of positive?
No, I feel exactly the same way. I think we're idiots, and I don't think we know what we're doing. I think the trouble is, over the last basically 10 years, it's been the same trouble. It's been Shad Khan. Shad Khan either needs to pass the torch to Tony Khan and let him run the team, or he needs to sell the team, or he needs to move the team, but he needs to do something. Really, he is the issue. He seems like a good guy. I don't know him. Seems like an okay guy when you hear him talk. He likes to pick people and let them do their jobs. But we keep having these same issues. And the only constant we have is this owner. The problem's our owner. That's really the problem. And I can tell you right now, here's the number one problem. He should have fired Trent Baalke right after the season. Call him in, tell him, step into my fucking office. You're fired. Bye. Goodbye. See you later.
Okay. Everybody agrees with that. Is there anything that you can think of that would make sense to Khan? I don't think it makes sense in the world, in the reality with which we live, but everybody has perspectives on said reality. Evidently, Shad Khan has some perspective where reality to him means Trent Baalke brings something, or there's some factor there that makes it make sense to him when it makes sense to absolutely nobody else.
So right now, that's very hard to say, because Trent Baalke still very well may be fired. And maybe this was the plan all along, was to have him, now for whatever reason, to have him help with the coaching search. And then once the coach came in, to move forward with getting rid of the GM, and then you get bring in a new GM. I honestly think that the only thing I can phantom is that he has some kind of a rapport where he trusts Baalke. And, to me, that's the only thing I can think of. because I haven't seen anything that Trent Baalke has done. Remember, we had that conversation about what makes a head coach. Is it a number of wins? Do you have to be a coordinator first? Like, what do teams really look for in a head coach? What shows you, okay, this guy is a qualified candidate for a head coach?
Yeah.
Because what shows you this guy is a qualified candidate for a GM position? Does Trent Baalke have that resume? And to me, he doesn't. So that means it's personal. It's not business. It's got to be personal, which means he has some kind of he has Shad's ear. Shad is used to talking to him. Maybe he's actually told Shad some stuff and it's come true. So then you start to build up that trust. You start to build up that rapport. And now here you go, you're looking for a new coach. And who do you got? You got this same dude who's sitting there in your ear saying, Bill O'Brien, he's a good guy. He's a good coach.
Big Fangio.
Big Fangio.
Yeah.
That guy can take us to the promised land.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that it has something to do? There's two things that come to mind. So the past with Meyer, was there something positive that came out of that to Khan that maybe the reputation Baalke has is a sort of snake in the grass leaker? I almost wonder if he was the whole time basically feeding information to Khan, and Khan feels loyalty in some way.
Yeah, my personal opinion is that when stuff got leaked out, it was Baalke.
Yeah. And so then the other thing that, to me, to go back to your point about bad ownership and Khan being a bad owner, what's scaring me a little bit is his hesitancy to get rid of Baalke seems to me to be desperation. It screams desperation to me. And that means that he doesn't have NFL sources. In other words, this is the best he can do. A guy that everybody in the league, I say everybody, nobody's coming to his defense, basically. He's alienated a lot of people in the league with his past snake in the grass behavior, backstabbing, media leaking, and everything that he does for political reasons. So but the only redeeming quality is that he has been in the league. The problem is that it's all been negative up to this point. So everybody in the league doesn't respect him. So, Shad seems to me to be somebody who, wants to rely on somebody who has more of an in touch to the league. And I'm thinking, you can't find anybody else, which makes me wonder so in other words, if he releases Baalke, who would he go after? And I feel like he doesn't have anybody. And I'm worried about that. It's like, how have you been in the league this long as an owner and you've networked no connections to know who to go after?
The truth is, who are you going to turn to? Are you going to go to Atlanta's owner and say, who do you like? Or can you tell me who I should get? So there is I think there is.
How does anybody else do it?
I think they pay attention. I'm not even sure I think Khan may be an absentee owner.
Well, I think that's for sure.
He's up there making plastic bumpers. He doesn't really give two shits about the Jags.
Yeah, he comes in the off season and then he goes back on his yacht sailing around the world. It feels like to me.
Yeah, and I can absolutely see it. So it does make sense that he's keeping Baalke because Baalke is his guy in the weeds. He's the guy that's reporting to Khan. So Khan has this trust with him, which is why we're still basically why we've kept him.
Okay, so I think Baalke pretty much has to be part of the reason why the Byron stuff has transpired. What is your take on what actually is going on? Like, if you have to summarize, and the truth is nobody knows for sure, obviously. So let me throw that caveat out there that I'm not pinning, like, we've got no sources at all. So we're just
nobody likes us.
We got no sources. So but from the outside perspective, what do you think is
If I
going
had
on
to,
with the
I
Byron?
think it, I think if I had to put some money on it, and granted a small amount of money, say $50, I'd bet that Byron Leftwich is our next head coach. And I actually do think that it's going to come with a different GM.
So you're believing the Byron, Adrian Wilson,
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, I'm believing that hype.
Okay, so why do you think there is this fierce contradiction between, oh, will he or won't he, that's going on at this point? Do you have you thought about that? Like, what could be the reasoning for this?
Well, there could be several reasons. So one, we know that they were in contract talks. That was reported by not only the local media, but also the national media, that they were in contract talks, right?
Yeah.
So then they said that broke down. Right now, my understanding, and again, this is coming from other people, other sources, is saying that it broke down because Byron Leftwich doesn't want Baalke. Okay. So at this point, and my understanding is that he's not the only one to have said that.
That's right.
Okay.
Everyone said that from what
for the most part,
what I hear.
I think Baalke knows his time's up. I know that his days are numbered. And now I think it's shifted to Adrian Wilson, at least I hope. And I think that we're in the process behind the scenes trying to do what we need to do to clear the slate to bring him in as well. And then we're going to do it almost as a package deal.
Okay. Now, okay, so that I agree with you. I think when all is said and done, Byron Leftwich will come here. Now, there was now I saw this on Twitter, so I'm sure it's making around in other social media platforms, which was, I believe it was Pat McAfee. I'm positive it's Pat McAfee. And he had not Jason Lockenfor, Ian Rappaport. He had Ian Rappaport on, and he asked him about the Leftwich situation because they had also went with the local information saying, yeah, Byron's going to be the guy. And so then he goes to Ian Rappaport and he says, hey, man, what's going on with Jacksonville? And Ian basically says something, and I think it's interesting because everybody took it and went negative with it. But I thought it was just much to do about nothing. What Ian Rappaport ended up saying was that he knows nothing about Byron being offered the job. He knows that Jacksonville has not contacted Adrian Wilson, which everybody, I think that was the big thing that everybody thought, oh no, that means this isn't real. I took it differently because even what Rappaport said was in the negotiations, because they asked him who was the leak. They said, who do you think would Leftwich's camp have leaked this? And Rappaport said, no, it wouldn't be in their benefit to leak it. So I thought, well, if Leftwich's camp isn't leaking the information to, the national media, then that makes sense of where we're at. So the information's coming from somewhere in the building that says they've made a deal with Leftwich, and the concept of the Jaguars talking with Adrian Wilson wouldn't come to play, I wouldn't think, right now necessarily, because remember, Leftwich wants Baalke out. That was reported that was the contract snag. You just mentioned it. So if they go, okay, if we get rid of Baalke, who would you bring to the table as wanting to work with? Do you have somebody in mind? If he says to them, Adrian Wilson, they're going to consider that, but they don't necessarily go to Adrian Wilson directly and go, hey, in other words, you're hiring Byron Leftwich. In my opinion, if you think he's a good coach, you're hiring him, whether he's bringing Adrian Wilson or not.
Right.
So but the stipulation is Baalke is out. And here's the deal. the Jaguars don't need to discuss this with Adrian Wilson right now because they're not negotiating with Adrian Wilson yet. All they have to do is know if Byron says to them, I've already discussed this with Adrian. He'd be definitely willing. He wants a GM job. We've discussed this before because this is his second interview. You think he's not contacting people already?
Right. Trying to put together his crew. Right.
Yeah. If Jacksonville gives me this job, are you interested? You know, he's obviously doing all of that. So he's contacted Adrian Wilson. So the concept that the Jaguars haven't contacted Adrian Wilson, and this is some big revelation that means the whole thing doesn't exist, I think that doesn't make sense. And the biggest reason why I think the Byron Leftwich is still on the table is because he hasn't. The other piece of negative information that came out was the Saints requested an interview with Byron. That was period. There's been nothing added to that. There's been so all these national media people who know this is a hot story, the one thing they haven't come out and said, Byron's going to meet with the Saints. The one things they haven't said is Byron's decided he's staying at Tampa, which this has been my opinion now, but now I do wonder if the retirement of Tom Brady has now brought in a different factor that I hadn't considered, that maybe Byron has been silent because he's weighing
the coach in waiting. Yeah. Hey, you know what? At this point, he still hasn't signed. If he hasn't signed, all options are on the table for Mr. Leftwich. And I'm okay with that. I would do the same thing. You know, I mean, honestly, but here again, it just goes back to the fact that Baalke's so bad that if Khan would have fired him after the season, Leftwich might already have signed.
Yeah.
Like be under contract, and then we're working to get the GM in. You know, but because Khan is such a horrible owner, that isn't the case. Now we're trying to essentially piecemeal all of this together and trying to make it so that either Baalke is still in the building, which Lord, I hope not, or that maybe we're giving him some kind of a contract settlement, you know, and then we're going to go get Leftwich and then go get your GM. You know, there's a lot of moving parts to this. This just isn't, you know, come on in and sign here and we're good to go. Let's roll. You know, so there's a lot of moving parts to this. That's what I would like to see happen, because apparently my two candidates, which were Doug Peterson and Caldwell, they didn't even get second interviews.
Yeah.
So
okay. So that's exactly where I wanted to go. So that was good. I'm glad you went there. We discussed this, our list of coaches. I think Byron was like 4th or 5th on he may have been 6th. I mean, by the time Flores jumped in there, I'm a little wary about Byron, but this whole situation that has transpired has forced me into the Byron camp. You know, there's because if he doesn't come, the negative side of that is so amazing to me and terrible. I just can't imagine how I'd feel about the Jaguars. If they got to the table and go, no, Baalke's our guy so much so that we can't have you be our coach.
Yeah,
that can't exist. I'm holding on the hope that won't be the case. And also this, because Byron came in there and goes, you know what? I would love to be the Jaguars, you know, and people
did you hear his interview? He was in a teal suit.
That's funny. I was just fixing to say that. So, you know, you laugh at the teal suit thing, but he comes in with a teal suit on, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, yeah. And I want this guy out. You know what that means? I'm a Byron guy now. I want Byron Leftwich, man. You know, it's like he saw me with that.
Now you only want him
One of
out because
us.
you only want him out because he wants Baalke out.
No, yes, that's true. Okay, no, well, it might not be completely true. Here's what it is. I now that now has made him look better to me because he sees things the way I see things.
Right, because he sees an issue and he's like, look, this is an issue. Let's get rid of the issue.
Yeah, and remember, you're dealing with unknowns here. Like, I don't know who's better. Like, nobody does really when it comes down to it. You're gonna go, oh, Doug Peterson's the can't miss prospect. I mean, he was number one on my list, but I was like, I don't know Doug Peterson. You know, it's like I'm kind of compiling this list based on a bunch of unknowns. So here's data that is thrust onto me as a Jaguar fan, which I love. So it's like, hey, if you're like me, great, then that's cool. And so I've got no issues with that. And all that does is propel him up the list now. And again, it has to do also with the fact that if he isn't the coach, the ramifications for that are so negative. And this is the way I was looking at it too.
You remember when we were talking about like basically Jags fans just not caring?
Yes.
And if Baalke stays,
oh dude,
it doesn't matter who they bring in.
That's what I'm saying.
A large portion of Jags fans are going to walk away.
I am very proud of the Jaguar fan base that we have not given up, because this is the last gasp of the fans for me. You know, I think we all feel this. Like in other words, Byron Leftwich, it's kind of weird too, right? Because was it the last episode that we did or the one before that? I think it was one before where
I don't know. They turned negative probably more than halfway through the year and just, stayed negative.
No, well, but what I was talking about was how did we get to that point where I went through where, I said it started with the firing of Tom Call. Well, no, I said, I even went back and said it was the Tennessee Titan, the 99 Tennessee Titans that led to firing. But
2 episodes ago, I think
the crux of that was Byron Leftwich and us drafting him. And I added that into that list. Like, he was the fulcrum of the transition from Coughlin to this degradation of. So what's cool about this to me though is I was never negative of Byron as a person. I just never liked the concept of drafting him when we did. But what I like about this story is that it appears that he wants to be here. Like, he wants to be the coach, and he could save the freaking franchise when it needs to be saved, which is like, yes, this is an amazing story to me, because, and he's in that timeline of where I'm like, he's part of the demise, and it's this amazing cosmic irony that he could be the one to save the freaking franchise, because if he comes in, and I was not a giant fan of, like, he was on the 5th or 6th rung of the coaches that I was interested in having come in here. But now once you start adding this data in, and when I realize that the majority of the fan base want him, I'm like, bring him. Like, there's no reason. It's so slight of a difference between all these coaches. If all the other fans are excited about this guy and they wouldn't be about the other ones, we'll bring that guy in. I'm fine with that. Let Byron have his shot, because I can't imagine. And especially when you find out he doesn't want Baalke. Okay, he's got some common sense. He's got some understanding. He's got some balls. He's got what we need now. And so to me, hey, I'm Byron shot up to the list now. I'm with everybody. I don't mind.
Byron is still not my top candidate, but I wouldn't be. I would take Byron before I would take anybody, before I take Bill O'Brien. I mean, I told you before, I told you before, if we got Bill O'Brien, dude, I would seriously just burn all of my Jag shit. I would say goodbye. If we got Vic Fangio, I'm gonna burn all my Jag shit. I'm done. I'm done. You keep Colin, you keep Baalke, because you know what you're not gonna have? You're not gonna have my money. That's what you're not gonna have. You're not gonna have my time, and you're not gonna have my passion. So that's what Trent Baalke is going to cost you. And guess what? It's not just me. It is Jag Nation. There's a lot of people who are going to be just like I feel. Now, if I hate to say that, because if I'm an owner and my fan base is telling me, you know, go get this dude, go, you know, because he's just great. He's everything you want. And all my data is telling me, no, this guy is not the guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my fan base to shove it.
Great point.
But in this scenario, Khan has been wrong.
Yes.
The data says Khan is wrong.
Yes.
You know, so at this point, it doesn't matter. You might as well go with the fan base. You might as well get their candidate, because you don't have anything else to lose, because guess what? Your team's fucking garbage.
Yep. Yeah, it's
so
perfect reasoning. Everything you said is reasonable. If I'm the owner, I'm not going to take orders from the fan base, but this situation's different. I've put myself in this situation as an
that's
owner,
correct.
and I have to take responsibility for that now. And here's just, you know, just for, if I care about my fan base and he says he wants to win, you know, what you want to do is get them excited and hopeful and build into this season so that you can possibly get momentum to win. And the way to do that is to build that. If you have the opportunity to provide your fan base that by making a decision you needed to make anyway. Yeah, you look like you were forced into it. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's because you're in a rock and a hard place now at this point. And you build up. So let's say it doesn't work out. Let's just say, you know, it's the same type of thing we've dealt with at Leftwich, and he becomes kind of like the next Urban Meyer, just to go real.
No, you can't go there, man. Give him Gus Bradley.
Okay, he becomes Gus Bradley.
Jack Del Rio. Jack Del Rio,
okay,
ex-player.
Whatever. It's you know, he's
Urban
not leading us to the
brother.
promised land, you know.
Yeah. Urban was bad, right?
Right. So you go, I tried it y'all's way. Now this time I'm doing it my way. And you got it now. I wouldn't argue with Khan then at that point. You know, if he goes, you know, so in other words, you're building up that equity to be able to bring back that, you know, you're in a situation, you got to deal with it. And this is just the most a pragmatic move. And that's what you got to do. You got to go, look, it isn't about my ego, my reputation to everybody else. I don't care if people think I'm getting forced into it. This is just the best move to make.
I concur. And if it is Leftwich and another GM, even if it's not the one that from the Cardinals, just another GM, a complete clean sweep of the front office. I'm still a Jags fan. I'll still most likely go to a game. I'll still buy Jags gear. I'll still be as passionate as I've always been. However, if Baalke remains and it becomes Fangio, kiss my ass goodbye.
Let me throw this out at you. Brady retired. So let's say that doesn't affect Byron. Let's say he's still, because he's not, I don't know who their backup is at Tampa Bay. So let's say Arians, I'm assuming Arians retires too. You know, I don't know if he's going to. I don't know nothing about Arians. But let's say this doesn't affect us at all in regards to Byron wanting to come here. He's got Trevor Lawrence. He's got first-round draft pick. He's got the fan base that's fired up about him. He's got a bunch of cap room. Like, why would you not want to come here, right? So if he comes here, Brady's gone, and Chris Godwin now is available in free agency. You have a relationship with him. Why would Godwin want to stay in Tampa when Brady's now gone? That, to me, that just opened a door on a position of need and an opportunity to get somebody that I think we need to seriously consider.
And I would have, so do you remember when I asked you about James Robinson and this year was
James
about signing him to a new contract, even if it's a 2-year contract for say 10 million, 5 million a year, basically pay him for what he's already done for us. And you said you would be okay with that, but you would have to see that he is fully back from the injury.
Yeah.
Does that go for Godwin too? Because
no,
because I agree, but I want to see it from Godwin.
It
I want to
doesn't go.
see him.
Here's why. It's simple. James is under contract. You don't have to make that decision. So I want to reward my players. I like the idea of saying, this is a guy, this is a gem. We found this dude. He's ours. And I want to reward him for everything he's done and everything we hope he'll do in the future.
Right.
But I don't have to reward him this offseason. I can, and by waiting, I would say, I'm just wanting to see him. Give me a couple games. I mean, you're back pounding it like you used to. Negotiations on. Let's do it. Let's sign you in the middle of the season. Let's boost you give you that motivation, that additional. We're going to back you. Because let's say we got Byron and everything's going good. We look like we're heading in the right direction. Then you're throwing. Yeah, we're backing James too. He's looking great. Everybody feels good about it at that point. I don't want to make it, because to me, it's almost like the Bortles situation. Why make a move you don't have to make now? Whereas Godwin,
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, Godwin's coming off an injury. I know, but he is a free agent. So somebody's going to sign him. Somebody's going to sign him. Why can't it be us? So in other words, this only further exemplifies why you don't sign James this offseason and you wait to see it, because you have to sign somebody like Godwin sometimes when you can't see it.
Okay.
You have to take risks.
No, and based off the last 4 years, Godwin can ball. So if he can come back fully healthy, there's no reason to expect he won't ball. So I get it. Although we're looking at paying him $17 million a year to have him here, I'm not sure I like that. And if that's the case, that means we're getting rid of Chark.
Why? Why can't we sign Chark?
Well, because Chark would be about $12 million a year.
You know what? We got a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. We need to give him weapons. We got James still on his rookie deal, which is nothing, but I mean, we do need to sign him soon. I think if he comes back. I don't see that concept of being an issue. I think with Chark, the only negative could be, and I hope Chark understands his situation. He's not Chris Godwin. So as long as he understands he's not making Godwin money and he's okay with that next tier down, then I'm fine with signing him. I do want to see him. And Chark's another Godwin in this respect. Someone's going to sign him. I'd rather it be us. I'd love Chark and Godwin, and then having LaVisca and Marvin. And to me, all of a sudden, because we're going into this, everybody's like, oh, we need wide receivers.
That's correct.
And we do. If you make those two moves, we don't. All of a sudden, we don't. Now, I'm not saying we don't draft them, but what that does do is we go, well, people go, we need to draft the number one. Our first pick needs to be wide receiver. It's like, no, could be a reach. I'm not against it per se conceptually, but that could be a reach. I'm not going to reach because we need it. get these two guys in, and then when you go into the draft, you're drafting jars on the shelf. You go, I never want to be in a situation again where I don't have weapons for Trevor Lawrence, and I want guys where we're going, okay, I need 2 years from now, that's the dude, that's what I'm wanting to go into the draft with, and that's what locks that in for you, so that maybe those guys step up when you're ready to sign Trevor.
Okay. I mean, that sounds great.
Yeah,
Because
so,
I would much rather have Chris Godwin at 17 to Devontae Adams at 25. And it's not that I don't like Devontae Adams. I do. I think the dude's badass.
yeah.
I just don't want to pay $25 million to one dude that doesn't control the football.
And that Nathaniel Hackett going to Denver on the heels of this past offseason where Rodgers was flirted around with going to Denver, maybe.
Right.
You can kind of see Rodgers now going to Denver, especially he didn't win in Green Bay again. So he may need a fresh start somewhere. And so much like the idea of Godwin following Byron that I'm proposing, I could see Devontae following Hackett and Rodgers to Denver. So in order to get somebody like Devontae, you'd have to pay a lot to get him from that scenario,
Right.
He's wanting to follow Rodgers. So I'm like, I never really was on the Devontae train anyway, because I don't think the amount of money that you pay for him is worth that difference between him and Godwin. I think Godwin and him are relatively similar playmakers. So I would much rather pay Godwin less and have him come over here than Devontae anyway. So
all right. So let me put you on the spot. Who's our next coach? When do you think it's going to happen?
Now that's the big question there. To me, I think Byron's the guy. I think the silence just means, that's the question. I don't know what the silence is about. That's what I'm a little confused about. I think maybe it has to do with Baalke and the awkwardness that's going on in the franchise, that something needs to happen internal before they can make the move, because it's a move Baalke doesn't want to make, and he's been made promises, and so they're having to deal with that. That's my assumption of what's going on. So I think Leftwich is the guy. The question to me is, does Baalke go? Is it a scenario where they're in part of this, whatever's going on, are they trying to find a role for Baalke? Do they say, okay, you can be the guy who deals with the finances or something, you're not going to touch the players, but I don't know. I don't.
I would have, right now, I will say that I do think that Byron Leftwich is the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it does happen sometime this upcoming week. It's announced. And no, I don't think there's a role for Baalke. And here's why. Because how could you work with somebody when they already came in and told your boss they don't want you there? Does that make sense? Like, are you telling me that Leftwich came in and said, look, I want to coach. I want to coach a team, but I'm not working with Trent Baalke. I want him gone.
Yeah.
Right. So you hire this guy, and then they're supposed to have a good relationship.
Yeah. I think it's good.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, now granted, that's a very Jacksonville Jaguar thing to do, because that's what we do.
I know it is. That's the only reason why I'm throwing it out there, because I'm trying to give Con a bone. It's like, maybe that is what they're thinking. I don't know. I mean, look, Baalke's going to get paid. Send him off into the sunset, man. Here, look, I'll buy your first Mai Tai in Aruba, get out of here, whatever.
I agree. I'm ready. I'm ready for him to go. I do wish that the fan base, look, to the fans, you're a fan, you don't control it. I understand it's excruciatingly hard to not be as invested, as we are sometimes. But just take a step back, take a deep breath, understand that if the Jags don't do what you would like them to do, then you take your money off the table. That's the biggest indicator that we have to tell Khan we're not happy.
Yeah.
We pull our money back. We don't buy merchandise. We don't go to the games. We don't care. We just stop.
I think the saving grace on this whole thing is that as bad of an owner as Khan is, I don't think it has to do with him wanting to win. I think he wants to win. I think somehow he's just that obtuse. And I think even Shad Khan has to know now. Because here's the deal. Tony Khan knows. So Shad knows. Tony Khan knows.
That is correct. That is correct.
So that being the case, there's something we don't know that's going on. And until you hear news as a fan, until I hear news that Byron has decided against coming here, or Byron is going to interview with the Saints, or Byron has decided to stay in Tampa, until I hear something like that, then I'm leaning on the local sources that have information saying he's coming here, because that information didn't come from nowhere. And I don't believe it's just hopeful internet stuff, because it's coming from people who know people at the stadium. It's
Right.
coming from there. So, and people are going, well, the national media are like, oh, well, we didn't hear it. Yeah, because your source is Baalke. That's why you didn't hear it.
Yeah, that's why you heard Vic Fangio.
Yes.
That's exactly what it was.
Right. That's why
So-
y'all are reporting Fangio. And we're going, no, we're telling you what's going on here in Jacksonville, So until you see evidence like Byron's going somewhere else, I'm not worried about it too much. Now, I am worried about it. I wouldn't be worried about it at all if it weren't the Jaguars. The fact that it's the Jaguars, I'm now thinking, did we screw it up again? Yeah. So that's what's got me worried. I'm holding on to hope that even Khan can see the light at the end of the tunnel here, whatever you want to say. It's like right there. The open door's right there. Anybody could walk through that. Come on. We've thrown rose petals and red carpets right to the thing you need to do. Just walk there. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, well, sounds good to me, Frank. We're about at our time. That was a quick 30 minutes. Is probably a little north of 30 minutes.
It went fast.
Yeah, it did.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time. So hopefully you got something informative out of it. Maybe some cathartic.
If not, you at least know that as a Jags fan, you're not alone.
Yes.
That you're as frustrated as we are.
We're in it together.
Yes.
Misery loves company.
Yeah.
That should be put that on the stadium somewhere. Come be company with us.
Yeah, come be company.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Misery loves company. All right. Till
All right, bye,
next
guys.
time, like, share, Bye.